Freedom of expression on guitar is the lifelong goal for most guitar players. But the issue is that not really anyone knows how to set themselves up best to get there. Now, it's not going to happen that quickly. It takes a long time to get there. But if you do this every single day, you will get there eventually, to the point where if you're here, dun, dun, da, 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 dun, dun, da, 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 right? Where you can kind of take what you're hearing in your head and bring it out on the guitar. So that is the objective long term. In this video, I'm going to show you what you can do every single day so that you prepare yourself for that moment when you actually can start freely expressing yourself. So we're going to tackle how to connect your ear to your brain, to your fingers, get all that stuff working together. Now there's 3 parts to this, so make sure you watch until the end, because if you can do the last part here, then you're pretty much there, honestly, if you can master that. The first step is you need to be able to hear your way through a major scale. And the reason for that is that if you can hear a major scale, you can hear literally any interval. So anything that comes into your head, if you can define exactly what it is that you're hearing, you'll be able to inevitably play that on the guitar. So there's a couple steps to this process. The first thing you have to understand is what are the distances between the notes in a major scale. The major scale is built up from whole steps and half steps. And on the guitar, a half step is just 1 fret when you move up 1 fret. A whole step is when you move up 2 frets. It's double a half step, right? So if you can start by training yourself what those 2 sound like, you're going to set yourself up really good here. For me, I like to have usually a song or something that's familiar to me to hear that I can reference for an interval. So for a half step, I kind of hear the Jaws theme. Right? Whole step, I hear You Really Got Me by the Kinks. So you might have other things that you find familiar that you can use as reference points there. But once you can hear a whole step and a half step, this is kind of the first part of the exercise here. We need to train ourselves how to hear through the entirety of a major scale. So the major scale is built from 2 whole steps, then a half step, then 3 whole steps, then another half step. So it's this pattern that's continuous. But the way I like to think of it is it's just a bunch of whole steps, except between the 3rd and the 4th note and the 7th and then the 1st note again. All right, so I'll show you what I mean. So if I start here, I'm going to number each of these notes. So the 1st note in the scale is going to be 1, 2nd note in the scale is going to be 2. This is going to be my 1 here. 1 to 2 is a whole step. 2 to 3 is a whole step. 3 to 4 is a half step. 4 to 5 is a whole step. 5 to 6 is another whole step. 6 to 7 is a whole step. And 7 to 1 is a half step. Okay, so now we have to connect our ear to the sound of that scale in its entirety. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by matching. I'm going to sing actually here, and so you guys got to start singing here with me. I'm going to match the pitch of the 1st note. That's the first step here. So 1, and I'm going to say the number of the scale that I'm on there. So I'm literally saying, that's called an interval. I'm saying the interval that I'm on. So 1. Now before going to the 2, I'm going to try to see if I can sing it first before even going there. I'm going to go 1, 2, 1, 2. You really got me, right? I'm using that kind of reference to find the 2. I know that's a whole step. 1, 2. Then I'm going to play it on the guitar to make sure that I got it right. So 1, 2. Okay, that's pretty locked in, right? 2, 3. I know 2 to 3 is another whole step, so I'm going to do that again. You really got me. So 2, 3, 2, 3. Now, here's where, remember we said before, 3 to 4 is a half step. So I got to make sure that I am hearing this a little bit differently than the whole step. So half step is like Jaws. So if I'm on 3 right now, 3, to hear the half step, I have to think, 3, 4. It's like my Jaws theme. I'm hearing a half step. Ready? 3, 4. Okay, that's pretty locked in. And if you continue through this process, you're going to eventually get familiar with hearing whole steps and half steps pretty well in order, right? 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 to 1's a half step, so I'm going to go 7, 1. All right, and then I'm going to sing and play the scale at the same time. So it should sound like this inevitably. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So once you can kind of check that off, like first of all, you want to try to do this every day, right? If you guys are not used to hearing a major scale, this is something that can take a long time. So you want to spend a lot of time here because you want to build this in steps. You don't want to jump to the complicated stuff before having this locked. So you really want to make sure you can hear a major scale really well. Okay, so that's step 1, hearing the major scale. Now, step 2 here, this is where it gets a little trickier, is instead of hearing that always in order, just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to 1 again, we actually want to train what certain bigger distance jumps sound like, so certain intervals. So instead of just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, we want to hear what it sounds like to go from 1 to 3, or from 1 to 5, or from 1 to 6, or to 7, or whatever it is, right? So in order to do that, there's a couple steps to this as well. I'm going to start from the same root note. I'm going to start from G again. 1, and I'm going to try to sing a third. Okay, we'll start with a third. And if you've never done this before, there's a trick to being able to hear the third, right? It's like we can always use the major scale and the sound of the major scale, if you're good at hearing the major scale, to delineate what that third will sound like. So I'm going to sing through the major scale first. 1, 1, 2, 3, until I get to my third that I'm looking for. Once I'm there, then I'm going to jump between 1 and 3 because I want to hear the distance going from 1 to 3. I don't want to have to always sing 2 to get to 3. 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3. I'm going to get used to and get familiar with that specific interval. Then I'll look at the guitar and I'm going to actually play the third, right? 1, 3, 1, 3. Now we should stop here because there's another element to this that's really going to help you out here. Because when we're talking about free expression, there's a couple things that happen, right? You're hearing an idea in your head, right? You got to be able to define exactly the interval that you're hearing, but then you have to look at the guitar or visualize the guitar and know exactly where that idea is going to be before you even play it. So the second kind of piece of this that's really important is if you can actually look at the guitar and create this visual of what each interval looks like so that you can rely on that when you're playing, right? So I want to get used to what a third looks like. I'm seeing that if I go across one string and down a fret, that looks like a third to me, right? Okay, so then every time I sing a third, I want to kind of visualize that shape. Or I want to kind of tell myself, maybe I know what the major scale looks like too, right? What I want to do is I want to look and visualize that major scale so that I can confidently play the third. Then I can play that first try without having to hit a bunch of wrong notes first, right? So let's continue. So we got our 1, 3. 1, 3, 1, 3. Now, from there, since we're so used to hearing G as our root, what I want to do is I want to throw a wrench in it. I'm going to pick a different root. So let's say I'm just going to pick a random note. Let's go up here. So now I'm on B flat on the 6th fret here. I'm going to calibrate that as my 1. Okay, 1, 1. From there, I want to try to hear a third. See if I can hear a third without actually singing through the major scale. I'm going to go 1, 3, 1, 3. And let's then look at the guitar and be like, all right, if I had to play a third, right, life or death, where would I play that, right? So I know that what a third looks like. I know it's going to be right there, but I would double check that, right? If this is life or death, I would be like, all right, well, it's 2 whole steps. I know I can play it here, or that's got to be there because I could go, this is also a root, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's got to be right here, right? 1, 3, 1, 3. And then I can kind of test them together. Hopefully you guys are starting to see this process here. So you hear it, you sing it, right? You define it, then you envision the guitar. Where would that interval be if I had to play it? And then finally you play it. You want to take your time through those steps because you'll be able to isolate which part of that process might be holding you back from truly freely expressing yourself. Now, another thing I'll say here is that now that I know what a third starts to sound like, I might associate that with a song too. For me, a third, I always think of that Stevie Wonder song, Sir Duke. 1, 3, 1, dun, 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 dun. If you guys know that song. But there's probably a million songs that use a third. in it. So you can use other songs that you know that have a third to use as a reference point there. So now let's do one more interval and then we'll jump on to the last step here, which keep watching again because this last step is super crucial. So let's try to hear a fifth, okay? So I'm gonna start from a different root just to mix things up. Let's say I'm starting here, just a half step up. So I'm gonna say this is my one, right? Pretend this is one. One, and the beauty of this is you don't even have to know what note this is to be able to do this. Like if you just think in intervals, everything becomes a lot easier. One. So in order to first hear a fifth, maybe I have to sing through the scale to get there, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 5, 1, 5. So I'm trying to like familiarize myself with that distance. Also, if you know what a third sounds like, you can jump straight to the third. You go 1, 3, and then 3 to 4 has to be a half step. 3, 4, 4 to 5 has to be a full step, a whole step. 4, 5, and you can get it that way too. So 1, 5. Now what I'm going to do is visualize the guitar, right? I can't skip this step. I got to see, all right, if I had to play a fifth, where would that be on the guitar? Now, I know personally that a fifth looks like a power chord. So I have a pretty good idea that I think it's going to be here. But to double check that, I'd be like, well, if I had to play through the scale, I'd go, 2 is here, 2 to 3 is a whole step, 3 to 4 is a half step, 4 to 5 is a whole step. Okay, that lands me on the same note. So I'm pretty confident that this is my 5. So I'm going to go for it. 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For a fifth, I like to hear this thing at the start of movies. That helps me hear a fifth. Some people hear a crazy train. Okay, so this last step here is the most crucial step. Now, obviously you need the foundation of the first two to even get here, but if you can do this last step really well, you're basically on the cusp of free expression. What we're gonna do is we're gonna actually pick a melody that's more than just 2 notes here. We're gonna hear that melody, define what that melody is, visualize it on the guitar, and then play it. And if you think about it, that's exactly what's supposed to happen when you're improvising or you're playing a solo or you want to freely express yourself or you want to write something that you're hearing in your head. You got to know what you're hearing, you got to know where it is on the guitar, and you got to play it in real time. So this tests every single step of that. So I'm going to go back to G, okay? 1. So let's say I'm hearing this melody. Dun, 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 dun. I'm like, ooh, I want to hear that on the guitar. First step, I have to define exactly what I'm hearing. What are those intervals that I'm hearing, right? This is tricky. So dun, I know that's the root, right? Dun, 1, dun, 1, something. I got to figure out what that second note is first, right? So I'm going to hear dun, dun. How can I tell myself what that interval is without giving it away on the guitar? So I'm trying to do this all in my head, all from singing. For me, I'm going to hear my way through a major scale because a major scale allows me to get there. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 3. Okay, that sounds like the note I was hearing, right? Now I can play that, right? Now from there, 1, 3, I'm trying to hear dun, 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 dun. Now here's where it gets tricky because from 3 to the third note, you can hear that distance and that might throw you off, or you can hear the third note from the first note, right? So there's all these different pivot points that you can hear from. So 1, 3, dun. So what I might do is I might continue singing through the scale to help me figure out what this note is. Dun, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 6, 1, 6. So I think that's a 6. Now, when you do this, you're gonna realize that you start to sing through the scale and then you kind of forget what note you were hearing in the melody, right? So a trick to this is to actually record yourself singing the melody first, so then you can go back and remind yourself what note you're even looking for. Because it's going to be very hard at the beginning to make sure you're locked in at the same note that you sang at the beginning, right? So 1, 3, 6, 1, 3, 6, 6, dun, dun, dun. To me, that sounds like I'm going down a whole step from 6. So if I think what's down a whole step from 6 in the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6 to 5, right? I know that 6 and 5 are a whole step apart. So my best guess is that's a 5th, but then I can test that and be like, well, dun, 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 1, 5. Yeah, that sounds like a 5th to me because that sounds like my, right? The more connections you can make based off like, are you hearing that interval from the root? Are you hearing the distance between that interval and another interval? Like all those connections that you can make are going to help you get a really solid understanding of what you're actually hearing in your head. So let's say I did all that and I figured out, all right, 1, 3, 6, 5. Once I have that, I don't even want to play it on the guitar yet because I don't want to play a wrong note accidentally. So I got to visualize it first. I want to see it on the guitar first. So I know my 1 is here. You can do this by like picking a 1, right? I know my 1 is here, so I'm going to allow myself to play that. But the other notes, I'm not going to allow myself to play. I know that I have to play 1, 3, 6, 5. So I'm going to tell myself where are those intervals before playing them. Well, I know my 3rd's here because I saw that earlier when I was doing my 3rd practice. The 6, maybe I'm not sure, right? So I have to maybe count up the scale. So 1, 2, 3, 3 to 4 is a half step, 4 to 5 is a whole step, 5 to 6. I could play it up here, but I also know that I could play it here because I know a whole step. When you move across a string, it looks like that. So far I'm thinking, all right, 1, 3, 6 is going to be there. And then back to 5, I know 5 looks like a power chord here, so I'm going to use that to help me. So then I have 1, 3, 6, 5, right? Now I'm going to play it. Let's hope I'm right here. Okay, that sounds like what I was hearing, right? 1, 3, 6, 5, 1, 3, 6, 5. Cool. So I did that one successfully, right? So this is very hard. So what you can do to start too is you can use melodies that are very ingrained for you. So an example for me would be like the McDonald's melody, right? Which is actually kind of similar to what I sang, but da 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 da, and you can be like, all right, what intervals are those? Well, if this is 1, da, let's just say that's 1, right? Da da da. That sounds like you're going up the scale. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 6, 5. All right. So now you can play the McDonald's melody anywhere. So there's one other way that you can approach this melody version of the exercise here. And that's instead of singing a melody first, you're just going to flip-flop the first 2 steps. So you're going to say, hey, what would it sound like if I sang these specific intervals? And just pick random intervals, right? Or intervals that you're curious about what they might sound like. So let's say I'm like, all right, well, what would it sound like if I go 1, 4, 7, 5, right? And then so I'm going to pick a 1. Let's say I'm like in the key of B or something. So B is my 1. 1. I'm going to calibrate that with my voice. 1. I'm like, what would 1, 4, 7, 5 sound like? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 4. And it's like, all right, 4 to 7. That's a weird jump, right? 4, 5, 6, 7. It's getting a little high for me. 1, 4, 7. And then how do we get to 5 from there? Well, I know 4 was here. 4. I could go up a whole step from 4 to get 5. 4, 5. Or I could go down from 7 2 whole steps because I know how the major scale is built. 7, 6, 5, 1, 4, 7, 5. Then I want to look at the guitar, and before playing anything, I want to kind of tell myself, where is 1, 4, 7, 5, right? Well, if 1 is here, I know the guitar is tuned in fourths, so I can just go right across, play the same fret on the next string. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a 4th. But because I want to be absolutely certain, I also want to just visualize the major scale. I think that's always helpful. So I'm going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my 4, 1, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So I know 7's going to be there. So 1, 4, 7. Then 5, there's my power chord again. So 1, 4, 7, 5. Okay? 1, 4, 7, 5. Bam, success, right? Now, ideally, you get this all connected so well that the next time you improvise, you can just start singing and playing what you're hearing in your head, right? Now, it's not going to happen that quickly. It takes a long time to get there. But if you do this every single day, you will get there eventually, to the point where if you're here, dun, dun, da, 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 dun, dun, da, 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 da. Right? Where you can kind of take what you're hearing in your head and bring it out on the guitar. So that is the objective long term. So start easy, start slow. Start with the first step, right? Just hearing your way through a major scale. Don't move on through this until you feel like that's locked. Then try to hear certain intervals, right? A specific interval. Maybe the third to start is a nice one. Then the fourth, then the fifth. Then you can kind of try the 6 and the 7, which are a little bit bigger jumps. The bigger the jump, the harder it's going to be to hear. Once you get that mastered, then it's like, all right, time to start hearing some melodies. But if you do this every single day, even just for 5 to 10 minutes, you look ahead a year from now, you're going to be absolutely killing it. Once again, my name is Eli. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed this, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe for more content like this. And if you really want to go from this kind of intermediate level to more advanced, check out my community below where we teach you exactly how to do that. And I will see you in the next one.